Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and you know what? This is a fan-based podcast, but it's endorsed by the band, which is really cool. Thank you. And boy, I got a song for you today that has a lot of meaning to me. I have a lot of memories associated with it. I told you guys when I started this album, this was an album that I'm very connected to. I'm not going to go into my story on this song, but I will go through the song in all its amazing glory. I love this one. It's beautiful, just a beautiful vocal, very powerful, very emotional. It's got all the elements of something that we've all probably experienced at one time or another. That idea of, setting someone free, saying that, I'll always be here if you need me, but, go do your thing, go be happy if I'm not going to be the one that's going to make you happy. And there is something very sweet about that, for sure. But there's also something that could kind of be like, if you read it the wrong way, which you could do, it would be like, you know what? Good luck getting by without me. I'll be here when you find out I'm really the right thing for you. And I think there's, even when you're being sweet and you're being on the right side of that, being like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry I couldn't be the one to make you happy. I want you to be happy. I love you. You deserve it. Go find that happiness. And if I can't bring it to you, I want you to find whatever it is that does. And that's really where the perspective of the song is coming from. But it could easily be misconstrued if it was just read on paper. If you actually just sit down and read the lyrics, take away the music, take away the vocal, take away the context of that, and just read it as a poem. And it could actually be a very narcissistic thing. Of course, because we have the music and because we have the vocal delivery that we do, we know that it is just a gut-wrenching, from the bottom of the heart type vocal and type lyric. But boy, when you just read it on paper, this is why it's so important to have the right delivery. And I think about that with, say, an audiobook or anything like that. If the reader does not read it properly, that doesn't convey the right message, maybe they put an inflection or an emphasis in the wrong place, could completely change the meaning. So I could say good luck, or I could say good luck, and it would be a completely different meaning, even though I'm saying exactly the same words, right? So when I read these lyrics on the page, I find them very fascinating because they really could read from a very narcissistic standpoint. But of course, when you put them together with the vocal delivery, with the music, the beat of it, the tonality of everything, it's and the harmonies, of course, there is just something that is so much from the heart in this song, and I absolutely adore that. This was one song that I've listened to probably the most out of all of the Uriah Heep songs, and that says a lot because they have a lot of songs. But this is one that I found that many times in my life I've gone back to. It is a source of comfort for me, and it does bring back some great memories, some happy ones, some sad ones, but I just love this song. Of course, today is the Monday show. And because it is the Monday show, this is our day to do our thanks. But first, I have to issue an apology to our dear friend Elke, who I talked about on Friday. She gave a very generous donation to the show. And aside from butchering her name, which I knew I was going to do, I forgot to mention that I have her artist website in the show notes. I meant to say that last Friday, and I forgot to mention it, but I do have it in the show notes there. Because of that, I've also put it in today's show notes as well. Go check out her website. She's a very talented artist. And, you might find some things of interest there, of particular interest, I might add. But very talented. And she's super sweet, very knowledgeable, really loves the music and the band. And, how can I not get behind that? Because that's what we're here to talk about. And of course, I want to thank everybody who has given ratings and reviews. We haven't had any new ones this week, but I appreciate everyone who's done that. It really means a lot to me. I still have to get through all the other countries and see what else is out there. But on the current US chart, there's nothing. I am very, very grateful, especially to our listeners in Finland who have made the show #1 in music commentary on iTunes. I have never been #1 on iTunes anything. So that is a huge thing to me. Thank you guys. And hopefully there are some other countries out there that I'm just not aware of that's the situation. So very cool. Thank you everyone in Finland. And thank you everyone, honestly, who listens to the show, because without listeners, why would I be sitting here talking? Speaking of listeners and people that appreciate the show, of course, we have our patrons. And coming in at the $5 tier, we have Kenny Wymore. Thank you, Kenny. At the $3 tier, we have Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, and Frank Thielgaard Mortensen. And then at the $1 tier, we have the Fort Knox of Oxygen Airtight Gravesite. Thank you, each and every one of you. It means a lot to me and definitely helps me cover the cost of the show, which, I'm a fan of that. Also, there are some other wonderful people, as I say every week, that make this show what it is. My graphic artist, Scott Lazinski, who did a fantastic job on the dark and the light logos for the show. Absolutely brilliant and beautiful. And thank you, Mick, for allowing me to use the official Uriah Heep logo inside of that logo for the endorsement part of it. Fantastic. Also, Audionamics, who I will not do a podcast without their product Instant Dialogue Cleaner, also known as IDC. It's a great thing for cleaning audio. If you're doing audiobooks, if you're doing any kind of dialogue, broadcasting, podcasting, anything like that, it is a fantastic tool. You can also use it on other stuff and you might get some interesting results, but it's really designed for dialogue. It takes out all the airplanes that fly in and out of Vegas. And it takes out all of the computer fans and dogs playing outside and children running around and whatever. So thank you guys. You helped me keep this show sounding fantastic. Next up, of course, is Dave White, who is Uriah Heep's director of social media. He's the one that shares my post on Twitter, on the Facebook group, all over the place, does a really great job helping me spread the word of each and every episode. Dave, I hope this isn't too tedious for you since I'm doing 4 shows a week, but I greatly appreciate the work that you've done. The insight that you've given me too on the band and some of the songs and stuff been really, really helpful. And my brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network, at the Deep Purple Podcast, we have Nate and John. At the Skinnerd Reconsidered Podcast, we have the Simple Man. At T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the other side, we have Terry T-Bone Mathley. At Sabbath Bloody Podcast, from Black Sabbath to Ozzy Osbourne, we have Rye. And at the Lap of the Pods, we have Paul, Joe, and David. Thank you guys. You are such a wonderful group to be a part of. Just the sharing, the support, the inspiration. It's absolutely untouchable. Also, check out Allegra's website, Gotta Hear 'Em All, for information on Deep Purple and Emerson, Lake and Palmer / Emerson, Lake and Powell. And of course, the manager of Uriah Heep has his own show. It's called Ace on Music. You can find that at Stitcher and YouTube. And I have the links in there for you as well. Very cool stuff. Really knowledgeable about the music industry. He's well tapped in, I would say, and has some great guests on from time to time as well. Now, you can follow the show, of course, at scotthaskin.com and then go to the Uriah Heep podcast link, or you could just click the link in the show notes. I've tried to make it easy. We have the Facebook page at Uriah Heep Podcast. We have Twitter at Heep Podcast and Instagram at Uriah Heep Podcast. Now, guys, we're getting close to the drawing. I will do the drawing on the last day of the month, which is coming up at some point, towards the end of the month. And to get into that drawing, sign up for the email at uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com. Anybody who has signed up for that knows that I do not bombard you guys with emails. In fact, I've sent out a total of 1 so far. So not a lot. Now, if you are a patron, of course, you get double the entries to the contest. So I don't know. We'll see what happens at the end of the month, but you still got time to get in there. And of course, once you're on the list, then that enters you into all subsequent drawings, unless you unsubscribe, in which case that will not allow you into a subsequent drawing. And there's that. Now, thanks again to just everyone who listens. It really does mean a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. The fact that we've hit 10,000 downloads is pretty awesome. It came pretty quick, and I appreciate that. I love that people are still finding the show, so I do expect those numbers to go up dramatically per episode as time goes on. Podcasts are a slow build sometimes. Even if you're working with a famous band, it takes time for the word to get out there. People don't always search for the band, even though it's their, maybe their favorite band. They're not on every day going on Google or iTunes or whatever going, hey, is there a Uriah Heep podcast or anything like that? So the word of mouth really helps. The fact that you guys share, do the reviews, ratings, all that, it's all part of that big package. So thank you guys very much. And now that we're 10 minutes or almost 11 minutes into the episode, as usual with a Monday episode, let's get to this just touching, amazing favorite song of mine called Sweet Freedom. Well, here's the thing. That is really busy. There's a lot of notes. It moves very smoothly, but there's a lot going on in that. But at the same point, it really feels gentle and slow and just kind of lulls you in a little bit. I love the gentleness of the keyboard. But what I really love is just the note that he's holding, or the chord, where it's just straight through until towards the end when it changes. But just the oscillation in that, just the movement of that sound is just amazing. That is something that can really just draw you in, and as this opening does. I also like the hi-hat. It's a little loud in this mix for my taste, but it's very gentle, done on the foot pedal. So again, you're not hearing a ting sound. You're not hearing that wooden stick hitting the top cymbal. So it's more like the gentle sound of just the foot pedal being used to close the hi-hat and open it again. I like that the organs kind of feels a little bit distant, because as you go through the song and you realize like you're distanced from this person, it really kind of feels like it fits. So I really like that choice here. That's just a wonderful build, and I like how it introduces each of the players almost as if they're characters in a movie. The movies like Poltergeist would be a good example. So you're following the dog around. The dog walks into each room and introduces each character. Hey, here's a sister. Here's a brother and a sister. Here's mom and dad. It kind of feels like that. Like each instrument or each player is being introduced into the song as they fade into view. Really cool strategy for songwriting. You also kind of get to feel what each person is doing instead of them just all playing at the same time and having to decipher, that sounds a little more like keyboard. No, it sounds a little more like guitar, that sort of thing. But I really like a little bit of wah pedal action I'm hearing in there. Very subtle, very gentle, but nice just the same, and just a great build. Really cool, the build of intensity here. I like that little marching snare drum sort of beat with a kick right on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Really, just a nice build. It's nice because it goes to what the lyrics are doing, or about to do, I should say, because our storyteller is about to tell us what's happening, what's going on, how they feel. And I really like that the music builds in intensity the way the emotion would build in intensity in the story. So really nice. And then, of course, that nice slide right into where the vocals are about to start.
As you look around you, do you like what that you see, though it sometimes makes you lonely, do you like being free? And are you sure you'll be okay without my company? I just want you to be happy, even if it's not with me.
What just an emotional delivery of vocals there. It really almost feels like there's a subtext of pleading, saying, I'm setting you free, but what I'm really hoping that you'll do is say, no, I don't want to be set free. I want to be with you. And that person comes back. That could just be the way I'm seeing it. I don't know if that was intended or not, but I certainly feel in the emotion of it all. That's what I'm getting out of it is, I think that would certainly be a natural reaction. I think, you know what, dude, you're good. Go do your thing. Go be happy. But I'm kind of like, just stay at the same time. Like I'm giving you a door here to make your decision, but I'm really hoping that you'll stay on this side of it and say that this is where you want to be. Couple that with the emotion of it. Very, very, very nice. I love what's going on musically here, especially at the end with the bass guitar. I love the strong sound of the keyboard along with the guitar. It really just brings out the emotion of the vocal even more. It's a really, again, man, this album is so well mixed. It blends perfectly. Having the vocals a little bit more crisp than the instruments, I think, again, works especially on this song. And we're going to dive into a little bit gentler of a vocal here next, which I think just blends even better. In that first section there, I love the gentle vocal. I love the harmony of that. It's just beautiful. And especially with that guitar playing in the background with just a little bit of flange on it. I think there's probably some delay and reverb as well. Really just adds a dimension to it that brings out the fuel of the vocal, I think. And then really nice build again, this time from Lee Kerslake. And then, just a stronger solo dialogue there. Great delivery again, just so passionate. I really feel this so much, like listening to this character explain this gut-wrenching situation. It just tugs at me when I hear it every time. I remember the first time I heard this song, this section, even though it's really just a built-up repeat of the intro, kind of made me feel like it was one of those comeback parts, like gathering your strength and your resolve and saying, all right, you know what? This is the situation. It's not what I wanted. I told her I have to stick by my words and say, go go be okay, go find your joy in the world. And kind of an acceptance and maybe a bit of a comfortability with accepting it, because there's first just saying, all right, you know what, if this is how it's going to be, then fine, I have to move on. But there's a difference between that and that realization and actually being comfortable with that realization. And I kind of feel like this musical passage is that passing right there, the passing of letting go, saying this really is for the best. And if this is the way I'm going to have to live my life, then I need to face it and start doing it. Again, totally just what I get out of the song. If I remember right, it's what I got out of it the very first time I heard it. And then obviously every time since. Maybe you don't. I don't know.
What I'm really trying to say is that I will be around. Should you find that after all you can get by with what you found, or it wasn't just my hope you took and gently tossed into the sea. Though it's hard to find the words I need, I guess it was me. Oh, I guess it was me. Oh.
What imagery, right? I mean, just the whole visual of imagining her like reaching through his chest and just taking his heart out and then, gently plopping it in the ocean on whatever boat they're on or whatever's happening. Very, very visual, very powerful with that as well. And even though it's metaphoric, we tend to be visual creatures. So I picture it as if it's not metaphoric, as if that's actually what she's doing. And now he's just standing there without his heart because she's just sent it away to Nowheresville. But the keyboards are really strong here too. And I think the fact that they oscillate so much really builds the emotion behind it. I can hear some guitars, but they're very, very far in the left in my ear. Bass is playing as you'd expect to play. Very nice. Great sound on it too, by the way. But yeah, it's an interesting mix. Very keyboard dominated, I would say, on this one. But I like the distortion on the keyboards. I like that it's so rich, but not forward in the mix. It's still loud, but there's a difference between it being loud and a difference between it being forward in the mix. And I would say this is loud without being forward in the mix because I still feel like it's physically far away. It's just playing extra loud. Yeah, just great stuff and powerful, powerful vocal. What I especially like about the vocal layering here is that they don't all stop and start at exactly the same time. There's a couple of voices that go on after some of the others have stopped, and I think that is a really cool effect. It adds a little bit of that, I don't know if isolation or loneliness is the best word, but just not feeling complete, like things are out of sorts a little bit. And having a band that's very, very tight on vocals, especially when they harmonize, having it be a little more disconnected, I think really, really works for the theme of the song. I love the bass and drum fills that are bridging the gap between one part and another. They just make that transition so smoothly and keep it interesting. We're in a section where it's going to pretty much repeat the music and the backing vocals through the end of the song, but we're going to get some extra emotion coming out of the lead vocal, which is really cool. Definitely something that is the kind of thing that I've talked about before, where like I could never go into a recording studio and just kind of riff like that, where you're just letting out whatever's in your mind and your heart and just belting it out and going for it. It really makes me feel like when he was in the booth recording these vocals, he just really channeled something that that cut right through him, and he was letting it all out. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I have no idea, but I really feel in the delivery that this is coming from something really inside him, and not just like, here's how to be a singer, here's the tricks, here's how you get through a section like this, like real actual emotion. Towards the latter parts of the song here in this ending section that goes on for a couple of minutes, I can actually hear a little bit more of the guitar. That screeching's not the right word. It's just more notes in the higher register, a little bit of wah pedal in there. Really, again, just packs that powerful punch and helps with that transition going back into the repeated part again. Really just all out, every point in this song hits home for me. I absolutely love it. I think that it's, it would be weird to say, I suppose, because there's so many out there, but personally, for me, it's one of the best songs I've ever heard. Everybody has to be able to identify with this in one form or another, whether it's a person you're setting free, or maybe a house you're saying goodbye to, or just something. Like, there's something that you can identify with in having to let something go, trying to be the bigger person and saying, you know what, I'm telling you it's okay to go, but really I'm doing this because I don't have a choice. That sort of helplessness coupled with the trying to do the right thing, even if it's just for yourself, just saying, hey, I let her go or him or whatever the thing is, really just pulls at everyone. We all experience that kind of loss or something at some point in our life. It could also be a death, somebody who's saying, you know what, I love you. I'd love to spend more time with you, but my body is just saying it's time to go. And them, you giving your blessing, saying, okay, go ahead and let go. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be romantic. And I think that the song certainly leaves that room. It really never specifies that it is about love. It could be a parent letting a child go to out-of-state college. I mean, it could be anything, but just having to be put in a position to let go of something that you're not ready to let go to can be very, very difficult. And I think that this song just portrays it so well. I don't know if you know, but I really like the song. I don't know if I've conveyed that enough, but I really do. It's just beautiful. And like I said, one that's very, very dear to my heart. So that's it, guys. That is the song Sweet Freedom from the album Sweet Freedom from the band Uriah Heep. And we will be back tomorrow to talk about the next song on the album. But for now, just let yourself relish in the beauty that is this song, because it is one that you may find, as I do, that you go back to over and over again. Hopefully you do that with everything, because, band's really good. See you guys. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!